Day 11. We made it. We made it to day 11. We're almost halfway through. Pretty super excited about that. However, I've been trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about today. And it has everything to do with being neurodivergent and having autism and ADHD. Now, a lot of you know I am undiagnosed autism because it is super freaking ridiculously hard. Ugh. Like when you know something, but you have to have someone that believes you so that you can get what you need done. Like that's my biggest issue with like the medical field is like, look, I know my body. I know my brain. There are things that I'm still working out. Yes. However, I know that this, and this is a thing. Like for the longest time, I was like, I don't want a diagnosis. I don't need a diagnosis. I don't care. I just want to understand who I am. And it has become more and more apparent that that diagnosis is actually a little bit more important than I thought it was going to be. So I was like, well, I can just be undiagnosed. It's fine. But then I remembered living life undiagnosed ADHD. And it was hell. That life was hell. And not only was it hell, I was put through hell because I wasn't understood. My needs weren't understood. My necessities weren't understood. Like, it wasn't understood. And unfortunately, I was traumatized because of it. I was abused because of it. I was mistreated. I was mishandled. Okay, cool. I know that now. I understand that. And now I'm no longer with those people. Like, hey, if you can only admit and own up to like this much when there's like this much of stuff, I can only forgive you. Like I've already forgiven for myself, but like when we're talking about ourselves, we can only forgive when they acknowledge. Like if you're wanting a relationship with people, they have to understand that it's going to be a continuous forgiving. It's going to be continual change behavior. It's going to be continual apologizing, accepting, acknowledging, owning it without being dismissive in the process. That for me is repair and reconnection. Like if we can work through each individual thing that we need to work through, cool beans. But if you start throwing it back at me when all I'm speaking is truth or facts or the two, somebody walked by my window, so I was like but those are the necessary key steps to get to that. So being late diagnosed and early diagnosed with ADHD actually did more harm than good, because I had it and then I went 20 plus years without it. And now that I do, I can sit down and I can do some research and I can work with people and figure out, okay, cool. But the autism was, woof, did not see that coming. Did not see that coming until I sat down and I started like really looking at all the things. And then I realized what was actually happening with my brain and with my body and my nervous system. And when you have been raised on narcissistic abuse and you have that on top of it, the trauma makes it worse. The trauma makes it worse. And I wish that I had people in my circle and environment that had understood that when I was going through this really big healing session last year in 2023. Because as I was discussing things with my parents and trying to like get them to understand, hey, this is the reality of what actually happened. I know you didn't mean for it to, but this is what happened. It was like I would get some acceptance and some accountability, but there were no changed behaviors. And in addition to that, it was thrown back at me. Well, I was a child. I was a child with specific needs that no one knew about, which I understand now. Like I understand that, but it's still, I didn't deserve to be treated that way. There was no reason for me to be treated the way that I was treated for that. Yes, they saw it as this, but whenever I would speak on the truth or we would get into an argument or whatever, they didn't realize that what they were getting onto me for and what I was getting in trouble for was literally what they were playing out themselves. Like, my father and I's biggest issue was that I was doing what he was doing. That's what I was doing. I was doing what he told me to do by his actions. Yes, he would tell me to do something different, but if he's not willing to walk the walk and talk the talk at the same time, how do you expect me to do that as a child who is learning and developing? And the thing about that is, all the things that went into that, I didn't go searching for validation for what my parents said and did throughout my life. I didn't go searching for validation. They were given to me. I didn't go looking. It was other adults. It was other teachers. It was other students. It was other friends, whatever, like coming at me at all times, validating what it was that I was being told at home or in the house. Like, it's all programming. And when you don't have enough people and you don't have enough support, because I was in therapy all the time during this time frame, and none of this worked for me. None of it worked for me at all. That's why I do therapy differently, because I can't necessarily do it in that way because it doesn't work for me. It doesn't. I have to do it a different way. And that's okay. I'm allowed to do that. So if someone's in your face saying, oh, well, you need to have this specific therapist in this specific way, just no. No. Now, if it's a therapist telling you, obviously, hey, we need to do this kind of therapy, this kind of therapy, this kind of therapy, that's different than someone telling you that you need a specific therapist. Like, oh, you have to go in office to have a therapy. That's an actual therapist. That's wrong. That's incorrect. And that's invalidating. That's dismissive as fuck. No. Because when I was telling my family that I had certain therapists that I had on my phone, licensed therapists, that I was doing research on when I had a specific problem or I had a specific issue. It was like all these little things. When you think differently like that, especially if it's in an environment where you have been abused before. That's the thing, is like, no one seems to be understanding. And I don't care if they do anymore, because I know they were my abusers. They were. No one has to tell me that they weren't. No one has to say that I don't believe you, because that's fine. You don't have to believe me anymore. I don't care about that. I know the truths and the facts, and I just want to help anyone else that's out there that has gone through it, that are still going through it, or maybe still, like, they're still in it and they don't know what to do or what's going on, and they're made to feel crazy. I'm here to let you know you're not crazy. You're not crazy. You are worthy. You're enough. You are loved. Don't let the people make you who you're not. Don't allow them to let you change your character. I did. Because I wanted my mom and a dad. I wanted a mom and a dad so bad that I was okay staying in that spot and fighting. Because I thought that fighting was going to get me where I needed to be. Because I had already tried the nice, the gentle, the kind, the empowering, the motivating, all that stuff. And it didn't work for me. I didn't realize that at that point, I didn't need to fight anymore. Like, that was me being shown and me being told to back away. Back away. So if you get to a point where you're starting to lose who you are, or you're starting to change your character, and that's not who you are, go. Go. It's okay. You're allowed to do so. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, feels, has an opinion on, or what they do because you did that. You have to stick to your truth. You have to stick to you. Your intuition, your body, your nervous system, your brain, your mind, your soul will tell you. And I know that when we're in that fight or flight, freeze, fawn periods, it's hard. But when you get out of it, take a look. What happened? Did you stay in character, or were you pushed out of character? Because that is the biggest thing that I'm learning, is that yes, your feelings are real. Yes, you do not deserve to be mistreated. Yes, you do not deserve to be abused. And yes, when you're in a spot like that, you are pushed into a corner to where you do have to fight back. And sometimes that comes out of character. And my biggest thing is, just because I can be the beast or that I'm good at it doesn't mean I like to be it. I don't. I don't like to be in those situations. Understanding my brain allows me to Nope. Because if I have a change, I'm going to have a meltdown or a breakdown. One or two. Or I'm going to get defensive at first. Like, that's what happens. Not because I want it to. It just happens. If it's a big enough change or a big enough infliction, if it's a big enough infliction, I'm going to have a reaction. That's nothing I can control. I just need a safe enough environment to do that. It's part of my spicy brain. Like, literally, it's part of who I am. But we have to make sure that our behavior is explaining who we are. And I know that there's a lot of exceptions when you're in those spots and positions and you feel like all you can do is fight back and lash out and say certain things. And in the moment, you do. In the moment, it feels right. In the moment, you just want the pain to stop. You want the mistreatment to stop. Because at the end of the day, all you want was for them to understand you, to see you, not bring everybody else in the world in with it. They wanted you to see, that you wanted them to see you and to understand you. Especially when you have people that are saying that I love you and I care for you, but you won't take the time to understand without throwing it back or bringing in everybody else in the world. Sometimes we just need to be seen as ourselves, not as our community, not as our acquaintances, not as our anything. Sometimes we just need to be seen for us. And these are the things that I am having to work through and work out, because not only was I late diagnosed, I didn't understand and know anything about any of this. I didn't know anything. I knew a few things here and there of what I've been told, but now I get to look into it myself. I get to understand my ADHD. I get to understand the autisticness. And I can help others along the way realize, oh, hey, I'm not crazy. I'm not irrational. It's just sometimes things happen. And when you are abused in your face, whether it is emotional, mental, verbal, physical, financial, it doesn't matter. When it is playing out in your face and someone tries to come and talk to you about it, or they tell you about what did happen, and you say, nope, well, bye. You can go back with the enablers and the abusers, because you're just about as bad as the problem themselves. We don't deserve that. We need people that understand how we tick, why we think the way that we do, and why we react the way that we react. And it's not always pretty. It's going to be messy. Sometimes it's going to be a little chaotic sometimes. Having people that understand, or giving yourself space to understand, because you don't even need anyone else to understand if you don't want to. You don't have to. Is it nice to have? Absolutely, it's nice to have, but it's not necessary. As long as we understand what we're doing and we understand that it's right for us, well, if it sits right with us, it sits right with us. You don't need anything to validate that. You don't. Unless someone comes around and is like, hey, that bothers me a little bit. Okay, well, why? Let's talk about it. Why does that bother you? Especially if I'm doing something that's right for me. Why? Have conversation. Have a conversation that leads to understanding. Don't have a conversation to respond. Communicate to understand. Because that's all we need is understanding. All right, I know this one probably bounced a little bit all over the place. However, I really wanted to talk about that for a minute. Because if I go ahead and do it now, if I need to do anything or speak on something else, I can always come back and just, what's the word? I don't want to say duet, but it's like stitch. There we go. Haha. I can always come back and stitch it. So, hope y'all having a great day. Hope your weekend's going great. For those of you that have already started school, congratulations. Hope the school year goes great. And for those that are getting ready to start, good luck. Have fun. Treat others how you want to be treated. Don't get involved in any nonsense, bullshit, drama. You know better. Be better. Stick up for others and yourself. Love you. Have a great day.